Well, it's silly o'clock in the morning again, heading towards the end of July, and the sun isn't quite up yet. But you can hear the sounds of the countryside here. As I'm beginning this particular video at Rickney, which is probably about 3 miles inland from the coast at Pevensey Bay. And you have these daft ideas, and they seem daft to start with, but when you think about them and put things together, they don't seem so bad in the end. So I've decided to subtitle this one, "Where Did the Normans Go?" And back in 1066, Pevensey Bay, as we've said before, was just a huge expanse, and in the bay there were 4 rocky outcrops, and as we say in Sussex, they were known as Eyes, meaning island. There was North Eye, which is way over there in the distance, and there was Chile, which is now Chile, and that's down the road there a ways. You can't really tell where the island was there, you can't see it. North Eye's visibly identifiable, as well as being an actual place now where Chile Farm is. Rickney is Rickney, which is where I am. Not really discernible as an island anymore. And Horseye, as distinct from the Horsey in Eastbourne. And we may take a closer look at that later. But nowadays, after silting up and have the land having been drained, you can tell it was underwater at one time, under the sea. There are so many drainage ditches and what they call sewers now. And we've seen Pevensey Haven before, and I've come inland because this is the furthest point at which it is named Pevensey Haven. But I'm going over this bridge to start with. This is where it is joined, as you can see, we'll look over the bridge a bit, there we go, by the Rickney sewer, and here is Hurst Haven, and we'll see more of that a bit later on. But if we come to the other side of the bridge, this is Pevensey Haven, the start of it as it is now. There's some flotsam and jetsam on the water. It's quite still this morning. It has that rather countryside stagnant smell about it. There's Hurst Haven coming under the bridge, and Pevensey Haven, as we'll see in a moment. Let's have a closer look. There. You can go down and stand on. Oh, I might as well do that. Nobody's going to stop me this time in the morning. And a few slugs and a bit of what appears to be goose poo on there, so I won't go right the way to the bottom, but there you go. Pevensey Haven. Nowadays it's mostly farms, but there is the Rickney pumping station here of water management levels, but you get these big tanker lorries come up to it, and they come up through the narrow road up from the roundabout at Pevensey. That's why I don't like going down that bit of road anymore. It's frightening. But here we are, Rickney, and the signpost to Howsham and Pevensey. Howsham at one end, of the old Pevensey Bay. Pevensey at the other, and Pevensey Bay now about a mile further down, so 3¼ 5¼ 5½, good 6½ miles inland the sea would have come at one point. And there you can see the old rickety bridge here was rebuilt in 1950. I don't know who OHCV was. I'll have to try and do some research to find that out. But on this side of the bridge, complete with its weeping tree there, that is now the Glinley sewer, and it goes up behind Glinley Manor on what's now the main Howsham Road. And we are now at the start of Pevensey Haven with this floating plant that causes big problems, and they're trying to keep everything clear of it. So there you have it. You're at the top end of what is now Pevensey Haven, but there's an awful lot of what was Pevensey Bay left. So I think we'll take a combination of driving and walking up the road and see what we can find. It's rather misty up here this morning, but I'm sure as the sun comes up we should be able to see a bit more. Well, here we are on what's called Newbridge Road, and as you can see the sun is rising. There's a nice picturesque sunrise out here on the marshes. Did I say we're in Newbridge Road? I suppose they call it Newbridge Road because there's a lot of new bridges here. There's also a lot of drainage ditches. We've got one that leaves here and heads across towards the middle of the marshes, towards where the old, well, I say, port of Howsham was. And you can still see evidence of that as you go along Saltmarsh Lane, and you take a look over on the right as you drive from the Stones Cross Road, and you can see a load of, well, I think it was a fish farm at one time, ponds and that was the very upper reaches of Pevensey Bay. And yes, there was a little port at Howsham, from where the boats would have come probably right through where I'm walking at the moment. How times change, eh? But, you can probably hear in the distance the cattle are saying, "Come on farmer, get up, we want milking." Pheasant in the distance. Smells and sounds of the countryside. And I'm only 3 miles from home, if that. Oh, look at that. What a classic. The sun rises over a 5-bar gate. How about that? And another pheasant in the distance. Now the Rickney sewer is just over there. You can probably just about make out the water down there. But, that's the Rickney sewer. And that's going to be a warm day today, I think you'll find. Very warm. The amount of mist coming up. Once that sun gets over the top of it, that'll soon start warming up. And I guess this must be the new bridge, because there's the Rickney sewer heading away back down round the corner where we were just now, where it will join Hurst Haven and Pevensey Haven and flow out to the sea. There, a little link to another one of the drainage ditches, or sewers as they call them. So much. Oh, anybody want some blackberries? They're a little bit early yet, but when they blossom there, oh, some more of that horrible giant hogweed stuff. I wouldn't touch that with a barge pole. Anyway, it's time to get back in the car and we'll go a little bit further on and we'll see what we can find. I'm rather hoping I might find a heron or two out here. Maybe not, but we certainly live in hopes. Anyway, I'm going to leave this particular section, the shot. You can't actually see it clearly in the LCD screen, but I'm hoping it's a shot of the sun rising between those two bits of bulrush and that there. And we'll see you in a few minutes. I don't know why I should say see you in a few minutes, because I'm literally only just up the road. But I wanted to show you excuse me, these telephone wires up here. I hope you can see them. Just looking up, there they are. I think you'll see them there. The bits and pieces attached to them to help stop the swans and the birds and everything flying into them, because this is a nature reserve, or part of it's a nature reserve, and you do get a lot of visiting ducks and also swans, geese, that kind of thing. And good morning, sheep. I hope you're all well. That's no place to go to the toilet while I'm filming. Oh dear. They got no airs and graces, these sheep. Actually, at the moment, they got no airs at all. They've just been shorn. But there you go. They're all very peaceful in the early morning mist. But I just wanted to stop briefly to show you the kind of terrain that I'm driving over. I think I might actually invest in a dash cam one day, and then I can do some filming perhaps while I'm driving. It's too dangerous to do it obviously holding a camera, but I just wanted to show you here how the drainage ditches, there's the Rickney sewer on that side. Oh, there's a shot for you. This is what makes it worth coming out here at this time of the morning. And again, you see the mist rising with the drainage ditch on the other side, and for the next couple of miles I am going to be driving with these ditches either side. I wouldn't want to come here in the dark. Good morning. Good morning, how are you? Very well, thank you. Just chewing the cud, chewing the cud. Looks very serene, doesn't he? Or she. I'd say she. Very serene in the early morning. But we must move on. Now here we are at White Dyke, and I'm rather disappointed because I had hoped that a lot of this mist would have cleared by now, but never mind, we'll see when we get a bit further up the road. Here's the Rickney sewer, and that will be heading straight off on the left hand side here at White Dyke. And this is a somewhat larger affair. This is the Pevensey sewer, because we are at, I'll call it White Dyke Bridge. It probably got a name that's totally different from that, but we're actually at the bottom of what was Pevensey, the island in the middle of Pevensey Bay. If you follow that track along there through White Dyke, it actually comes end on with the road that eventually goes into Howsham past the caravan park. But we'll stand here at White Dyke because I'm hoping that at least through the mist you can see the land rises quite noticeably here. As you go up the hill, you can see it at the top there. Apart from North Eye, this is probably the only island that you can see clearly was an island. In pre-Roman times, this was an area of salt extraction, and you take an awful lot of salt from here, and these four islands were just rocky outcrops in the bay. Peaceful enough today, dog barking in the distance, and now I'm going to head up over Pevensey and down to the other side. This isn't actually going quite as successfully as I thought, but I'm out here now, and I'm not going to come back another day to film, but let's see what we find the other side of Pevensey, shall we? See what happens. Back in a little while, or by the miracle of modern day, a couple of seconds. Well, I've come over the top of Pevensey, and we're now just down the other side, and the mist is actually now in quite a good position compared to what it was for filming, and you can see Pevensey is right in front of us there, lost in the mist. Now, I titled this where did all the Normans go? And you might remember in my 1066 video around Pevensey, I was talking about how I subscribe to what I consider to be a more correct version of the Norman invasion, in that the force that landed at Pevensey was not the main Norman force who went across to Wilting, the old Hastings port, but in actual fact were an expeditionary force. Now, one of the new theories says that it was dispatched from Wilting after the whole fleet arrived. I can go along with that, but I also don't think it's outside the realms of possibility that a small force split from the main fleet and landed at Pevensey, because their brief obviously was to lay waste to the villages around the top edge of Pevensey Bay. I still don't think to this day, now you look at the new evidence, I can't imagine William landing a force of all those boats and everything else and all the other paraphernalia they had to take with them, and then marching from where you're looking at in the camera now. They would have come all the way over there in the distance, following the higher levels of land, round and up the road just in front of where you see the those big windmills over there, and made their way around the edge of Pevensey Bay up towards Howsham along the ridges. There's a bird calling out there. I have no idea what that is. Very strange. Anyway, yes. Much all the way around there, and as I'm walking back up the road here, just remember I'm now drowning. I'm in the middle of Pevensey Bay. But they would have followed the ridges around there towards what is now Earthman Zoo. So you have to remember, in 1066 it was just a very, very small settlement with the old Saxon name Erst, meaning woodland. It didn't become Earthman Zoo until a lady from the de Erst family married a gentleman from the de Monceau family, and their new manor became Hurst de Monceau, shortened eventually to Earthman Zoo. And as I say, the Normans would have walked along what we now know as the lower road, I think, although many maps show them as walking along the current day A271 and down over what was then a very wide stretch of Waller's Haven. I have a slightly different theory, which I will show you in a minute, but sadly what is lost over there in the mist, although maybe I'll just walk back down the road here and see if I can see it. I hope you like the fact that I'm a bit spontaneous in these videos. I don't work to a particular script. Yes, I probably do a little bit of research before I come out, just so I have some basic facts, but until the 1970s, Earthman Zoo was home to the Royal Greenwich Observatory at Earthman Zoo Castle, which was one of the first brick-built castles. Unfortunately, because of where the sun is, I'm not really able to film Earthman Zoo Castle. What I am looking for, and again, sadly, I'm not going to see it this morning, not from here. I was looking for the dome of the Isaac Newton telescope, which was moved to the Canary Islands sometime back in the 70s. There is a shape up there, but to be quite honest with you, I think it's a tree, and I'm not going to lie, but I'm just going to move the camera along the skyline, because I'm pretty certain that that's the general direction where the observatory, the shell of the old Isaac Newton telescope, still is. But those are the ridges along the bottom end of Earthman Zoo, where the Normans would have ended up after marching all the way around Pevensey Bay. And you might agree with me, is he really going to march all of his forces all that way and then fight a battle? I honestly do not think so. And with that, I'll make our way back to the car. I'm not doing an awful lot of walking this morning, but the filming's taken a while. Never mind, a lot of ground to cover. We're not there yet, so we'll carry on to the next piece. But I do have to say that as mornings go, And as places go, this is really rather lovely. Pennywort, that's the name of that plant, I couldn't remember. But I'm now here at the far side, opposite side to Rickney, of what was the old Pevensey Bay. We're just beginning to climb now up onto the ridge at Erskine Zoo. But remember I mentioned Hurst Haven earlier on. Well, we're now at the top end of Hurst Haven. Lovely countryside smells here. But I just want to, I'm not going to go too far because people live out here, but this is the far end, Hurst Haven. Just goes a bit further over there into the marshes. You can see all the pennywort on the water. That's not good. And there's Hurst Haven, and that winds its way down across the marsh, the other side of Horse Eye, back down to where we found it when I started to cross Pevensey Bay at Rickney. A lot of the mist has cleared now, but you can hear the sounds, can't you? Sheep, cattle, birds, and a magpie. And a wood pigeon. Just peaceful. Sometimes it's good to get out in the very early morning as the sun comes up. You just begin to see the earth come alive, as it were. I don't know if you can see that, but the mist is rolling off of the, let's go up here. You can see the mist actually beginning to float away from the water now as the sun is coming up. Very difficult with this LCD screen to see clearly what I'm looking at, but yeah. I'm going to I'll try and find those buildings that are, yeah, I'll come down. Hopefully you can see what I mean there. And the mist just rolls away and disappears into the air like a ghost into the night. Onwards and upwards, as they say. I'm now going up onto the ridge and meeting at the point where I think the expeditionary force of the Normans would come along, laying waste to the various settlements on the way. Let's go and have a look, shall we?